So I think everyone is here already, so we can start. I think I was the one arriving late, so I hope you like the story. We can start with a short round like always, and then move on to the general discussion. So we can start with Angela. What did you think about the story?
Hi everyone. I really like the story because I think that it was super short, but it was with a lot of different things to discuss. So in general, I liked and I found it original. I mean, about how it's like this IA, and it reminds me to the Hair film. Have you watched this film that is out? And it reminds me a lot. So yes, I like it in general.
I'm glad. So the next one is Jessica. Jessica, did you like the story?
It was okay, not over enthusiastic. I got the impression that the AI was very American for some reason. Personality, how far an AI can have a personality, it seems very American. Well, it brings to mind lots of questions about artificial intelligence. The new thing being that this one is benevolent for the moment, but there's a lot of possibility of it turning not evil, but of in its trying to help people, it's going to complicate matters because it doesn't understand, even though it has a conscience, it doesn't understand humans.
Yeah, and also because it's even said in the text that the AI has a very limited view of what's going on, because not every detail of people's social life and everyday life is posted in the internet. But I think it was funny, the the American definition of the AI. I wasn't expecting that one. So Carlos, did you like it? What did you think about it?
I liked it very much. I thought it was quite original, quite interesting, the issues it raises about the how much information and how much we post on the internet and how much control they can have over us. Maybe a couple of things that I thought it could have been better is at the end I got the feeling that it could have gone further. I thought I would kind of stop too early, and maybe the situations it poses with the human characters maybe a bit too simplistic. But I don't know. Maybe that's because the main character just looks at them in a simplistic way. So maybe it's not from the author's side. So, but I liked it very much.
Thank you. So the next one is Rocío. Rocío, did you like the short story?
Yeah, definitely. I think I thought it was very, very funny, as you said, and also this this way of being a bit what's the word? Oh, sorry. The word is naive. Yeah, in a way. I don't know why I think it says she. I'm not sure why I decided, as I was reading, that it was a she, but of course maybe there's no she or he. But so I thought she was a kind of naive, and at the same time that gave it a lot of sarcasm, maybe out of the unknown or just being too clever in putting 1 + 1 is 2. Anyway, I find it very interesting, and I say I'm happy for your choice.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. So Nelida, what did you think about the story? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoy it. It surprised me because I don't know, maybe 2 days ago or so, I found a YouTube video where Chema Alonso, which is someone who works for Telefonica, was explaining about the data and all the artificial intelligence which is used for recording all your opinions, or what you like, what you don't like, all all this stuff. And yeah, I like it because it was like a shock, because I had the other idea about it being something bad, no? And I actually like it. Yes.
Thank you. So the next one is Aurora. Aurora, did you like the story?
How could it be otherwise, having pictures of cats on it? I found it funny, and that the AI is a lovely character, and very kind, and very interesting, and yeah, I did like it. I found interesting that there were so many references to other machines, no, or characters from
Yeah.
fiction movies or novels and everything. And what else? And I find it interesting that this machine cannot do it's a conscious AI, but it doesn't know everything. And on the other hand, the actual machines, I guess they can do much more, but they, as far as we know, they are not conscious yet. So it's interesting. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, they're not conscious as far as we know. We may be all monitored by some similar AI to this one, and so it remains possible. Maria Jose, what did you think about it? Did you like the story?
Yeah, I really enjoy it because it was quite surprising. The thing I like is I think it was quite sweet how the AI was to help and not be evil and be helpful. I think quite scary also to know how many things we put online and how easy it is to control us. But in the way it was quite hilarious how she or it to be a machine, how understand and not understand human at the same time. It was quite funny for me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for your choosing.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So Raquel, you're next. Did you enjoy this story?
I found the story very interesting indeed. What I liked most about it is this in artificial intelligence that is working through algorithms and trying to solve the lives of these three characters. We are a little bit more complicating that through algorithms try to solve our lives. Nevertheless, I found it quite interesting that in the near future, for sure that there will be machines that will solve our problems. We won't have to think about it. They will solve it. Nevertheless, I don't think this is a good idea or not. Probably not.
Yeah, in fiction, not many AIs are as good as this one. Often they are more evil in nature, so we don't find ourselves in the future with those ones. So Eloisa, what did you think about the story?
I really like the story. I think it was very simple and easy to read, but at the same time it was funny. And I think it's a very current subject, since we live in a society that as soon as you switch on the computer and you go into Google or social media, you have a lot of adverts. And I think that like connecting this to an artificial intelligence and trying to help us, it was kind of funny and clever way to explain it. And as a cat lover, I love the payment. That was my best thing of the story. I really like it.
I'm glad. Many people here are cat lovers. I guess it makes it good that the story was about cat pictures. So Colleen, did you like the story? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I really like the story. I thought it was very original. I also like I thought it was funny, the cat pictures, the kind of emphasis on that. Yeah, I thought it was quite original. I thought it brought up themes of like what it is to be a human, what it is to be a machine. Yeah, I thought it did kind of become there were some sarcastic parts, almost. But also it was kind of a sweet story. So yeah, it was quite different. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it had a sarcasm, a witty humor that I think we don't expect to see in AI fiction because it's all too human for us, I think. So, Mo, what did you think about it? Did you like this story?
I guess I'm going to be the dissenting view here, and that I didn't, sorry, didn't really care for it that much. I like the concept of using all of this information that we put out there in a benevolent manner. So I like the concept of it, but I think, I don't know why I found it a little bit too, simplistic and a little bit unrealistic, sort of childish. Maybe that was intentional. It's supposed to be from the character's point of view. But I don't know. And I think, you have to buy into the sense of humor to enjoy it. And it's not my sense of humor. So I guess I don't think it's bad, but it just didn't appeal to me too much personally.
Well, we welcome dissenting opinions. It does as well. So that way we can have some debate.
But do you like cat pictures or not? That's the main thing.
See, I think that's the reason I'm very much in the minority here, that I'm not a cat person. So that aspect of it, I'm just like, all right.
Maybe loving cats makes us connect more with the AI. I don't know.
I think so.
It's true one for me. So, Adrian, what did you think about it? Did you like the story?
I did. I enjoyed reading it. I mean, it's quite simple, right? It's sweet, cute, light-hearted, and every now and then something light is good. Because this could have been much darker. Like the things the story talks about, describing the lives of people that are not happy could have been, well, a horror story. And instead we have a light story with a funny undertone, not necessarily funny per se. Like I didn't find anything specifically funny, but it has a funny background and a funny atmosphere. And it's simple, but it accomplishes what it wants. And it throws out there some interesting topics, like artificial intelligent morals, where does it come from, even human morals, mental health issues, how to solve them. It's really so easy to solve some of that stuff. Well, the exposure that we continuously do to the internet, to social networks, information we upload out there, it's another interesting topic. And I like Jessica's comment about how the IA seems American, because it's true. I was feeling something odd of the personality of the AI, and then I realized that like there are some things, like for example, associating religion with morals and stuff like that are very American-like, so it makes sense.
Well, guess some of us now see the AI as very American, thanks to Jessica's comment.
An American female so far.
Yeah, so far we have her picture all right, even though we have no concrete evidence of her of her gender or what she may be intended to sound like. So
I actually thought she was male. I had the idea she was male.
But now you're referring to her she too. We will assume she's a she. So Andrea, what did you think about it? Did you like this story?
I like it in general. As Adrian said, it's short, it's enjoyable, it's like very easy to read. The only thing for me is like I don't think it's very realistic that an AI like has these like dilemmas, ethical dilemmas, and overthink so much about if it's doing good or wrong. Like I think these concepts are really human, no like for an AI. So I don't know, it keeps bothering me a bit when I was reading the story, but in general, I think it's a very cute story and I like the humoristic tone of it. So yeah, I like it.
I really like this story. I found it by chance, but it had won a lot of awards and it was about cat pictures. So I thought, what could possibly go wrong? So I'm really glad you liked it. I wanted to share with you that many times in different discussions of these short stories, we've wondered well, I like this story very much. What if this world was expanded? It wasn't so short. What if it was novel? Well, this author has made a novel out of this. So hello, everyone. You're welcome to read it. I actually found this short story together with the novel. The novel is called Catfishing on Catnet, and it keeps a similar theme with cats and AIs. So, but it's a normal novel, not a short novel. So I already bought it. So I guess I'll see if I like it or not. But it seems promising. I thought I would like this story, but I found it surprising because it manages to touch upon a lot of subjects. But yeah, like I think Adriano or Andrea said, many of these issues are very serious, but still the theme of the story remains, the cadence of the story remains very light, very sweet, very fluffy, and I like that. It is unrealistic, but I think it's nice to take a break from, I don't know, more serious stories, especially right now where you have a lot of problems in everyday life, a lot of issues going on. It's fun to catch a break sometimes and read something stupid but funny and light as this. I think I thought it was going to be more I don't know, not more serious, but I didn't. It managed to surprise me nevertheless. I thought it was going to be much more about cats than about people. So I don't know if it was because
Were you disappointed?
No, I wasn't. That's the thing. Because I don't know, with the three people that the AI talks about, the three people that appear in the story, without really even appearing in it, I think it manages to touch upon a lot of subjects, and it made me interested not to think about, oh, there are so many humans and not enough cats in this story. So I think it was fine.
You know,
So,
actually, more than the idea of why an AI should have feelings, desires to help, and all of these things, and you know, questions.
Jessica, you froze?
Yeah.
Froze.
Oh, I can't hear her.
No, she sometimes process.
Oh,
you're not frozen now.
Oh, no.
He came back.
Okay, to summarize, why cat pictures, basically?
You know, there is something interesting because if you look at AI, there's been like, if you look at basic, you know, if they're trying to give a tutorial or whatever, many times they'll use cat pictures. There's actually a famous online course that is over various AI, and the guy uses cat pictures all the way through. So and I just took that course, so for me it was quite funny but I think it could possibly be related to that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, about cat pictures, I was thinking because the typical problem in like data science and neural network and this kind of things is like make a neural network that can separate dogs from cats. So I was thinking that it was this problem. Like,
wow, I didn't know
this
that.
example is super. Yes, and there is a thing that it makes me laugh a lot. Like when people is imagining like artificial intelligence, this kind of consciousness. The people who work in this is thinking like, but I cannot separate dog from cats. That is an usual problem. Like it's a kind of meme in this area.
Yeah, speaking of memes, I thought the cat pictures thing would come more from how the internet is full of cat pictures and cat memes and and cat things, because people like cats and people like making funny pictures of cats and funny montages and everything. And I thought it was as simple as that. I didn't know there was any correlation between, I don't know, artificial
Maybe it's not this
intelligence and
problem,
cats.
but this problem is really common in data science. So I think that is this.
If it were a proof of the consciousness this machine acquired, no? That's a very human characteristic to like cats. at least in internet, because they always say cats are the kings of internet, no? So
yeah, I guess it goes with the funny atmosphere of the story, because the cat pictures on the internet is a thing. It's like a meme. It's like a stereotype of the internet, and all the pictures that go around with funny, silly jokes on them, and all the cute pictures of cats that go around. It's like a joke. I feel it like it goes with the story.
Yeah, and it keeps it lighthearted in a way, because it doesn't, I don't know, we're greedy, we need money, we need things and luxurious stuff, and this AI is simple enough to only want cat pictures because they're cute. I don't know. It keeps the atmosphere of the story not as serious as, you know, with those evil AIs that only want to take over the world and things like that. And then this AI just wants to have an online library of cats. And is only interested in people who have cats just because they can offer her, well, or him or whatever, something in turn. It's lighthearted. I don't know. I interpreted it like that, but it's funny to see how we all have different opinions on why cats pictures. What makes it want cat pictures in the first place?
I think that I'm not a cat lover. I mean, I don't hate cats, but I don't love them. And I think, in a way, also, it is this ideal of comfort, of feeling okay. It's this thing of, okay, get anything like it can be a pill, it can be a cat picture, it can be any kind of relaxed music, everything which makes this atmosphere of comfort, even in the most discomforting real situations, which is not bad sometimes, you know. One, I go, me myself, I go and look for monkeys, you know, pictures of baby monkeys, which relax me in the same way. There's this cat pictures can relax other people. So but I think it has to be also with this idea of making it everything a bit unreal and a bit, I'm sure there's another word I can't find now, a little bit like, let's put everybody to sleep. Let's put the whole population to sleep, and so they don't make problems. I know it's taken things too far, but I just leave it there. Okay, I'm sorry.
But yeah, I think it's cool to see different opinions from people who are more attached to cats, or people like you yourself, or Mo, for example, who was our dissenting opinion before that. Yeah, I'm not much of a cat person. I didn't care much for the cat aspect of it. So yeah, it's cool to see different opinions. Because of course I'm going to be more biased if I can think of my cat every time I'm reading the story and thinking about funny pictures of my cat. I'm going to be more invested in the story because I can relate. I would do everything for pictures of cats too. So
regarding why, yeah, were you going to say something?
I was going to ask you, what did you think about how the story handles the three people that the AI presents, the three people that the AI wants to help? What did you think about them? Did you think that they were very meaningful in the story?
Well, what I was going to say was related to this that you're saying now, which is that I hope that in the novel that she wrote based on this story, she expands what the IA can do. Because in this sort of story, she keeps it in a very personal level, helping one-on-one. She says that she's doing small tests to see if she can help. But usually what we are accustomed to with AIs on movies and novels is that they either attack the complete humanity, wiping us from the earth, or help us in a wider scale to all humanity, like reaching the stars or whatever. But this one just stays on a very personal level, helping people in a very detailed areas of their lives to make them improve.
Yeah, it's true. It keeps things personal. It keeps things close. Maybe also because it's a short story, so it wouldn't make much sense to speak in broad terms because there's not much room to develop otherwise. But this way we can see the small changes in these people's lives, or lack thereof, as the third case implies. But did you all think that it was meaningful, the inclusion of these people in the story?
It's how it's explaining how it can help. It's by means that we are all aware of with publicity and everything. I mean, the only desire behind all that publicity is to sell, and in this case, it's to help. But the concept is the same. The functioning of it all is the same, to sort of put things your way so that they occur to you.
Yeah, like subtly guide you towards certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like cookies in the internet.
I think it also brings up the topic that isn't so related to AI, that humans are very slow to change, and even, you know, it was like the machine kept pushing things in your faces, and the machine was like, they don't even see it, I'm putting right in front of them, you know, with depression and things like that. And so I think it brought up that kind of side of humans that even when we have it put in our face sometimes and we need to change, and sometimes what we need to change, like the robot said, is something so simple, like look for a job, or, you know, go get some help, or find a new housemate. So
yes, it
Those
very
things
well.
are simple, which is why I thought, I don't know, like that was what bothered me about the story the most, is like, I mean, I get that from the AI's point of view, is like, why don't you just change your life completely? It's so easy. Like, and that from an AI point of view is like, yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then this story doesn't really ever contradict that. It's like, oh, it was that easy. All the guy had to do was come out as gay, leave his wife, move across the country, find a church that accepted him. They had an opening there. They actually hired him. And then, oh, this other priest happened to be gay too. So they're together. It's like, okay, I don't know. I can't find that interesting because it's so outside the realm of reality that there's like, it's like, okay, good for you, but that doesn't tell me anything about anything, because it's just so unrealistic. And like, oh, you just happen to have a clinic that, well, you can go to for free right next door. It's like, okay, I don't know. Like, again, it used to be a light, fluffy story, but it just, I can't engage with stuff like that because
it's the idea that you have to do something if you're unhappy. It's not going. Happiness is not going to fall out of the sky. You know, I mean, okay, this is very simply explained, but you know, I think that's the idea behind it all. And in the AI, constantly saying that we're so slow to change.
But even with the slight tone of the story, I think it's a bit scary that this machine says, "No, I know what you should do with your life. It's going to change all of us in your life, like because I know best." Like even if it says that he cannot know everything that's happening in your life because it only has the information that you put online. So I don't know, it's a bit scary as well.
Also,
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, he mentioned that even with the guy, because he was quite frustrated, or she was quite frustrated that she couldn't tell, you know, once they met, well, she didn't know what happened. She only knew from emails and things like that. And he encrypted his account. So, you know, then really didn't know. So yeah, it was.
I wanted to say that even though the AI complains that the people are slow to change, I mean, they're slow to react to the advertisements he puts in front of them. But I think that's good. I mean, I don't think we should be responding to every ad that is placed in front of us or the first 3 lines in the search. And also, maybe it's because the AI is portrayed as very simplistic, but it's like they say, oh, well, she's depressed. Well, why doesn't she change boyfriend? I mean, people are, it's not that they are depressed because they don't do things. They cannot do things because they are depressed. It's the other way around. So it's kind of the lack of understanding of how people work. So for me, that's why I said, like, even though I like the story, some of the things were a bit too simplistic, the story, a bit kind of Disney-like.
Yeah,
I love the Disney bit.
But maybe it is because it's a part of the AI character. I mean, it's like if it's in a very early stage of consciousness and it's not powerful or and so
yeah, like a child. It's even said what that the first time the AI somehow experiences failure is when after Stacy was the first woman she helped. Well, I'm going to refer to her as a she. I don't know why, but the first one she helped was Stacy. Then with Bob, because things were so slow and the problem was so much bigger than simply just get a job or and seek a bit of mental health, because Stacy wasn't as in a bad situation as Bob or the third one, Bethany, that was in a really bad mental state. So she was getting frustrated, so she was like, okay, I'm not going to give up, I'm going to try and find another subject I can help. And then she goes back to Bob because she fails with the third subject, Bethany, and she doesn't want to get discouraged. That's because she's in as Aurora said, she's in an early stage of consciousness, so she hasn't been hardened by failure. She doesn't have any cynicism to say. That's why she doesn't have, I think she doesn't have a sarcastic tone voluntarily. It just comes across to us as a bit of with a funny undertone, but just because we interpret it like that. But I think the AI is being honest. It's being naive, yeah, a bit childish. Honest. But I think it has it talks about it, and the story itself has a very naive and unrealistic tone, because that's how the AI is currently. Maybe if it experiences more failure and sees what people are truly capable of, I don't know, she sees online crime. I don't know. There are a lot of there are a lot of online crimes and bad people online that the AI might get spooked if she saw them. But at the moment, she's seeing just simply good people in need of help. So I think that's why the tone of the story is like that.
No, this is worrying. What you're saying, because the constant failure, because there's going to be more failures than successes. And there was one sentence that she says, oh, I like this story because everybody does what the AI says. You know, this frustration at not being able to help people because they don't do what she says could lead to dangerous things.
I think also, if you think about it, she talked about so much like trying to find morals and trying to find, the right way to be. But in reality, she's doing something that she was never programmed to do. And I think in a machine sense, that's actually not a great thing, because, she's kind of decided, I know what's best for humans, so I'm going to do it, even though they don't know.
I understood this that you're saying in the story as that she knows what she's doing, because she comes from the algorithms for search engines, and in the story she says that her as an AI isn't needed to find things that people search for, but is needed to find what people need, what they actually need. So I think this IA sees very clearly what people need and then gives it to them, or tries to give it to them. Although she has a personality that is her own. Like, for example, the fact that she likes cats pictures means that she has a special taste, different from other people. And well, what I think on the way she tries to help people, giving them what they need, while I find it unrealistic in the story, like they magically find whatever they need because she points them in the right direction. I think that the general idea, the underlying idea of people have to change the stuff around them in their lives to improve and try to get a better job, try to get better friends, try to get a better significant other, try to whatever, and change what is around is basically true. Like, to change your life, you actually have to change your life. So I like in that way that she points them in this direction, even if then everything in a Disney style happens around.
I think
Yeah,
that,
but
oh,
I
sorry.
think also, sorry, talk.
No, you go.
Okay, so I agree with you, but the thing is, she say like Jessica said in the beginning, I really know what you need, so better than yourself. And in the end, she says something like, if it could possible to be you for 1 week, I will change everything and really help you. And this is the scary thing, because she's nice, she's naive, but maybe the thing with the priest went well, but could be completely the other way around. And it's like, if she could take your life for 1 week, what is going to happen? It's just what she decides. And in the end, she says something about, you can pay with the picture cards and I will help you, with the website. And the only thing you have to give me is the control of your life. And sometimes you could take back, but only sometimes. So this is the scary thing. What she really wants, maybe, is just to not be human, but to take in control. So I think this is quite dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I think her motives are good, but I agree that that idea that she thinks that she knows everything about you because of what you do on the internet. Yeah, she knows a lot. You can find out a lot, but there's also a lot that you don't know. And depending on the person, how much they put on the internet, how much they don't, what they choose to put, what they don't. Yeah, it could be kind of scary to have. Yeah, like you said, the consequences what happened with the priest could have been very different. He could have come out and could have been ruined. So, yeah.
I think in that same sense that the risk is to be manipulated. I mean, because at the end it's like how Google and all these things work. Somebody said before, they do these algorithms with what you choose, what you search, and all that, and then they pop up this advertising of things that they expect that you will eat as a hook. So so in a way, she's like trying to do a little bit the same, to be manipulated. Okay, with this idea of I'm helping, but sometimes that kind of people, and then you said, yeah, thank you, I never asked your help, but thank you. So it is a very interesting way of presenting a lot of realities in a simple way, but in a way that it's affecting our lives now, only with this thing of what they pop to us back when we get into Google or Facebook. I mean, that is incredible, on other of these pages. I found that here, I mean, compare with in America, or I mean, I'm not an expert in America, I know, but I found that it's very normal that people ask, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite film? What is your favorite this? What is your favorite? Here we never ask anybody, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite? So there are many questions that are quite normal for a different culture, that here in Spain, I never find myself asking anybody, but nobody asking me. Sometimes I wonder if Google and all those things follow that American culture in that way of capturing your essence, but quickly, in a very quick way.
I wanted to say that along what Colleen was saying about that you can only see part of it. And if you look at people's Facebook and Instagram pages, there would be nobody depressed. Everybody's very happy and living a great life. So I would not be able to find anybody to help. Also, regarding the issue with the cat pictures, I think it could be having programming. In fact, the programmers always pour in their things they prefer, their preference, maybe even as a joke, but also they put in their prejudices, their ideas. Sometimes even by the way the information they feed the algorithm to draw things. So in that sense, in fact, it's kind of surprising that this algorithm will be able to develop ideas by itself. because if it's very, very complicated to feed an algorithm right now, I mean, a human feeding information algorithm in order to get a good process, supposedly this one has done it by itself. But anyways, I think maybe this is something that could be done in the future. I was thinking that maybe in 10 years' time we have some service called lifecoach.com where you give all your information to a program. It tells you what you should be doing with your life.
Yeah,
sure
and if that's the case, and they develop this IA codes that can solve lives, I couldn't mind if, as in the story, I give my life to this coach for a week and say, okay, solve it. Find me a better job, better paid, that I am going to like more. Find me better, I don't know, whatever. Solve my life around. And then give it back to me in 1 week. And then I live a better life. Like, you know, when we talk about resurrection or traveling back in time to be inside the body of someone, I always think, okay, but which life I'm going to live? I'm going to live as a slave, getting cotton in a field, or I'm going to be a queen in Egypt, right? Like, what are the options that I'm going to have around now? If an AI can make an awesome life for me and then I go and live it, that's perfect. For me, I'm fine.
Well, it can give you advice and then you choose.
But it's not perfect because the AI is going to give you a life that it thinks is perfect for you, which is not necessarily, you don't coincide in your ideas.
Nothing is perfect.
Yeah, actually,
no, what we think is not perfect either.
I was thinking there is one scene where the person actually go to a clinic, I guess, guided by the GPS, I guess. So imagine if that technology is at the service not to help you, but to get you to consume. I think that's more realistic. So you want to go to the park, but it guides you to the next shop. I think.
Yeah, that's true.
More realistic.
I remember. I think I've talked about this in another book discussion we had. I think it was in a similar theme about robotics, about AIs or things like that. But I remember there was a very viral video. I think it was only a year ago, when two friends who neither of them have any pets, they started talking about getting a dog in front of their smartphone. Their 15 minutes later, all the ads, the smartphone, and all the other house items connected to the internet to the same, I think it was Google account or Amazon account of one of the friends, the one that in whose house they were, started showing ads for dogs, for dog food, dog toys, dog everything. Why? Because he wasn't listening in when they talked about it for 1 minute about getting a new dog, about dogs, and all of the subsequent ads that were shown to them were about dogs, even though they had never shown any interest in things like that because they didn't have any pets, neither of them. So it was very creepy. And you see the evolution because you see live 15 minutes later, all the ads scrolling are of the same thing, just because they talked about it. So it's creepy because they're listening. I don't know if they're actually listening in, but they may, and that's scary enough.
Yes, this is scary. I listened a story about a Thermomix or a robot for cooking or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That they put microphone inside, and someone discovered that this was a microphone inside a Thermomix or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
I don't remember exactly the story, but something like that.
It has happened also with children toys in the US that they have a microphone and the information was taken home to the server and processed. And in fact, this thing, something similar happened to me. I mean, a friend of mine, she was telling me that her ex-husband worked as a personal individual guide for El Camino de Santiago. Okay, something, I mean, I don't like Camino de Santiago, I've never done it. And the next day I got an advertisement in my mobile phone for individual guide for the Camino de Santiago.
Wow.
I think it's been proven that they actually do listen through your microphone and they target you with ads, same as they can spy on you through your camera.
Well, I mean, if you have any program that you can activate with your voice, you say, Alexa, please do this. It needs to be listening all the time and processing everything you say to identify the word Alexa. So as long as it is processing, why not also get some revenue out of it?
There's been a lot of controversy regarding this, and well, they use the information you send when you're actually talking to the device, to Google Home or to Alexa or to whatever. But the rest of the time, they are not supposedly allowed to listen to you unless you directly call them. Now, if they do it, they can, but it will be illegal. Also, there was a lot of controversy with the Facebook app not so long ago, a few years ago, because it was listening all the time in the background, not only consuming the battery's phone, but also illegally getting information, and they had to fix it and pay a fine for that.
No, I think it happens more than we realize. You know,
Yes.
same as, like I said, same as your camera on your computer or your phone or wherever. Like it.
Yeah, whenever you download any app, the permissions you have to accept in your phone,
That's ridiculous.
sometimes they include outrageous things. For example, you're downloading a game and then it says, this app is requesting access to make and receive phone calls. And it's like, what are you doing with my phone calls? you I don't know, you Candy Crush game. Because
and your contact list and your camera roll.
Yeah, because they take advantage of the fact that if you don't accept those terms, you can't download the app. And if you accept those terms, you're legally binded by those terms because you accepted them. So they take advantage of that, and it shouldn't be like that. It's not only your voice, it's, yeah, as you said, your camera, your everything. Whenever
I
see
with your data, actually.
Yeah. And whenever I see a game that or something like that that has nothing to do with my phone calls, that asks me access to your phone calls, I'm like, why do you want my phone calls for? What is your purpose with this?
Yeah, I want to solve your life.
Ideally, the legislation will advance along with all the technology and the things it can do. Usually, the issue is that the legislation goes like with a little bit of lag. Like we have a problem where they can listen to everything we do, and only a decade later, the legislation starts regulating this, and phones start popping, asking for your permission and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, but all these attacks on the legislation, I'm starting to get offended.
So
we try. It's just too hard.
I know, and some countries are doing better than others.
No, they are slow.
We're slow, but we're trying.
Slower than humans. They are slower than humans to change.
I could tell.
Yeah, we're human. We don't have an AI processing every new law.
Yeah, the thing is that it's dangerous, the manipulation, the level of manipulation that we can get. Like, I've never been very worried about them listening to me, wanting to buy a car or whatever. Like, if they are going to send me better ads on that, and then I only see ads for cars, perfect. Maybe I find on one of those ads one that I like. Like, I don't mind much companies using for profit the corporations' information from me. Okay, whatever you want. But then we enter a realm where it can affect our politics. For example, on the last presidential election between Trump and Clinton, it was proved that this information that they had was used to avoid people to vote. Not specifically to vote for one of them, but to avoid voting, especially for the left electorate that tend to vote less or not go to vote because they don't see the candidates fitting their ideas. So that was addressed to them to say, don't go to vote. And if that managed to affect the election, then that's an issue. That's dangerous and scary.
I think we
Wasn't
have
Russia
talked about
behind that?
It was said
that Russians were behind that.
I watched the movie Brexit that someone mentioned, and it was like, yeah, the thing with Cambridge Analytica.
I think that the
Cambridge
Brexit thing was the same that the Trump thing that Adrian was saying. It was the same company, the company that was after this.
And it was the same year. It was only a few months of difference.
Yes.
Creepy.
Also, Putin, as you said, Russia is not only interfering in the election, but it is interfering in my flight tickets. No, I don't know. Maybe it was a coincidence, but I did travel to. Yeah, I was traveling to Russia. I was going 1 week to Moscow, 1 week to St. Petersburg, and back, just holidays. And a few days before the trip, I was joking with Mo by text, like saying, "Oh, I'm going to kill Putin. I have my bomb prepared to kill the president," and blah, blah, stuff like that, on WhatsApp.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, so the only time in my life that I have been stopped at the airport for a random passport check. And I'm not talking about security when you have to open your bags and show the passport and everything with your boarding pass. No, like afterwards, when we were boarding, waiting online, they called me on the loudspeakers saying, Adrian Diaz, please come. And they took me to a small room and did a random check of my passport. Now, of course, nothing happened because everything was okay. But I always think, was it a coincidence? Or was some bot listening to President Bomb Putin or something like that, you know?
You managed to tick off a whole list of dangerous words.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Adrian, you were lucky. I was, in fact, at the Domodedovo airport, arrested and taken to the illegal immigrant detention room.
Wow.
For one full day. So
What did you say in the phone?
What was your crime? What did you do?
I cannot tell on the internet because everybody's being recorded.
Yeah, you're recording these and you're going to post it, so we have to be very careful what we say.
I didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing
Even
wrong.
if Adrian wasn't recording, I'm sure they are watching us.
Sure. It was a visa issue.
I don't know how the encryption levels are now.
I remember a few summers ago, me and my best friend, we were talking one day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." After the summer was over, and she was like, "Yeah, I forgot to tell you, this friend that you lost contact with, and I know only in passing, but you had a very big fight. She was arrested in the U.S. and she was held in an immigrant jail for a month." And I was like, "What happened? Why didn't you tell me about this?" She was like, "Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to know." And I was like, "Yeah, she's no longer my friend, but I want to know why once things like this happen." And she explained it to me that she went to work to the United States as an au pair for the duration of the summer. I think she was barely legal. She was 18 or 19. I don't know. We were very young. So, and she went there, and she had some problems. You know, I'm sure most of you would know that you have to sign a lot of documents and paperwork in order to get your visa for the US, especially for 3 months, which was, and it was for work. It wasn't for just traveling and being a tourist. So she felt something wrong with the paperwork, and she didn't declare that she was going to receive any payment for her work there as an au pair. So the customs department and the immigration department had her arrested and taken to a county jail there next to the one closest to the airport. And it was only a month later that the issue was solved and she was allowed to return home. And it was so creepy and I was like, okay, I'm never going to the US. No way. I don't want to spend 30 days of summer in a county jail. So
I've actually thought often when we read many books that talk about Islam, and I look things up on Google, like what's the jihad flag, and I don't know, all these things.
That's dangerous.
Exactly. I'm going to get arrested one of these days, and all I want is information because of the.
Yeah, you're on a list now, Jessica.
Yeah.
Actually, you freeze, your camera freeze because they are spying. Like,
they're trying to put a limit on the jihadist content she spreads online.
Okay, people, you really did it. Now, in this forum, we have had the jihad, Putin, bomb, and everything on the same conversation. Now we're all going to be
getting so much dangerous words, Mark.
Thank you very much.
On fire, right?
Jessica, it was just for research, right?
Yeah, it was because of the book I was reading.
You're not planning to join the jihad, right?
No, not at all.
But yeah, it's becoming very common because just the other day I had another exam, and they had a bunch of cases that were of, I don't know how to say this in English, but I think all of you are sick of hearing this, enaltecimiento del terrorismo, delito de enaltecimiento del terrorismo. So that is like apology of terrorism, which was a very controversial topic of discussion in several famous legal cases here in Spain. So they put out a lot of cases to analyze, and the main question of the paper of the exam was, even if these people do not belong to any terrorist organization or and haven't posted any plans of actively joining any terrorist organization, are they still guilty? And before you read the case, you knew it was about the jihad, and you were like, yeah, of course they're guilty of something, because you knew that it was apology of terrorism, and it was like, yeah, they're guilty of something. Why? Because you associate these words of jihad and sympathizers of the jihad with, yeah, they must be committing something. I don't know yet why, but whenever I finish reading this, I will know, because it's such a trigger warning right now, these kind of things.
Well, that makes me feel good about the legal system.
Yeah. Like, I will say that's part of our prejudices and stereotypes, and that law shouldn't legislate based on that, right? Actually, on legal.
We try not to, okay, on principle, but but yeah, it's very dangerous these times, because even if people are allowed by freedom of expression to breach the topic, just by saying, just as Jessica said, just by talking and researching about a topic such as the jihad, you can be blacklisted in a way, and you can't control that, and it's frightening, because it can effectively censor any talk about certain topics.
Yeah, I think what governments can do with this kind of information is quite scary. I mean, some of what I've heard, even in China, with like the facial recognition that they have used. I mean, it's quite, you think of old books like 1984 and you think like, oh, this is, crazy science fiction. And then you think like, it's not being used this way now, but if they really wanted to use it, yeah, how much information, how much could they, follow me around and know where I went? And it's kind of scary, as long as governments are responsible, but once they become irresponsible and they just want to control you, like.
But in China, they use this, like, I was reading that for controlling the coronavirus, they used this facial recognition you were telling, and also like drones and more devices, just to know if people was like not respecting the coronavirus things. So they are already using. Like, I think that because we were discussing before, like, if this is just for publicity, like if I speak about cars and after I found a car, it's not a real problem, but like if they use for politics and they use for control and they can use, I don't know for what more things, it could be really, really like dangerous.
It is being used already. I mean, I put in the chat entry on the Wikipedia, the social credit system, where they actually people have a score depending on which internet pages they visit and the places they go and who they talk to, and based on that they can deny entrance to college to your kids or things like that. So I mean, it is already in force.
Yeah, it's a long distance plan to rate how good of a citizen you are.
Yes.
Whether you, and that decides whether you can access certain bank loans. They limit the search results for example, job offers. They only offer you low payment jobs, low income jobs. They slow down your internet rate so that you don't have you can not all the members of your family or your household can access the internet at the time, so they can limit your access. And whenever, for example, you visit pages of foreign pages or pages of media that's not affiliated with the current government in China, you get a lower score. And the thing is, the score you have of how good of a citizen you are is public. So people are subtly directed to only associate with people with high scores and ostracize people with lower scores. So it's very creepy.
It's like this chapter of What
Black
is
Mirror.
the name of this? Yeah, Black Mirror.
Black Mirror.
Didn't come to my mind.
Famous
Yeah, it's
episode
exactly
about
like
that.
this.
Yeah, it's the same idea, and it's like, yeah, but the Chinese government is actually being serious about this, so it's not it's not just entertainment anymore. It's reality, and it's creepy as hell, because right now they can't do it. There's nothing stopping them from doing it.
But they don't do it yet. You're saying?
Yeah.
Yes,
But-
they do it now.
But it's in the early stages of development, so not everything. For example, what I believe is at the moment they're not currently enforcing the most strict laws of this, that the most strict consequences. Sorry, that are, for example, denying the passport to those people who have the lowest scores. They just deny them passport so that they can't exit the country at free will or even transit between provinces. For example, those kinds of measures, I don't think they're implemented yet, but the ones of monitoring your social media and the news you spread. For example, the Chinese are forbidden of using the word Winnie the Pooh because of the Winnie the Pooh meme with the Chinese president. So you can't even talk about Winnie the Pooh for real. No, not for a meme,
Winnie
for
the Pooh
real.
is censor.
Yeah, you can put Winnie
Because
the Pooh
people
for
say
your
he looks
kids
like the
because it's
president.
banned. And I think that's funny, but also sad.
Yeah, and they are still developing it. Like in a few years, give or take 1 or 2 decades, that's going to be a huge issue because the technology is more or less there. Like, for example, for the Olympic Games in Tokyo, the Japanese authorities were using cameras that could scan 80,000 people per second, like their faces, and matched them with databases to look for terrorists and stuff like that. The technology is there and is improving. And the thing, of course, as with all technology, as with the atomic bomb and everything, is who is going to use it and how. As Colin was saying, a responsible government or an irresponsible one, like the Chinese one. Like I'm pretty sure that social credit system, if you criticize the government the slightest, your social credit goes in below 0. And if you price the government for everything they do, then you can get access to whatever. And that's fucked up.
Yeah, because even in few years that this takes place, the people will educate their children to comply with everything the government says so that they can lead a better life. So then it will become irreversible because young people will already grow up in this world and with these conditions, and they will get used to this and won't dissent because they want to avoid the backlash. So
no, it's a very effective tactic because it's not just you. If it were just you, maybe you would and you'd say, well, I'll have a lower score. But then you have to think like, oh, but then I'm damaging the future for my children and what are they going to suffer? And yeah, it's very, very effective.
we can admire them and criticize them at the same time, right?
Yeah. I don't like it. I certainly don't think
it's a good idea.
It's effective.
The system is supposed to be fully deployed this year, but it already was working. I was reading some statement that as of June of last year, 27 million air tickets were denied to people because they didn't have the right score and they were deemed untrustworthy. Same went for 6 million high-speed rail tickets that were not there. They were denied to people who were not trustworthy. So it's already running.
And do you think that this is something super Chinese, only on China, or that when it continue like developing, it will affect other countries?
I'm worried about affecting other countries, considering we have Trump in power. Oh, me, but genuinely, it's a genuinely scary thought because I think that he's the type of person that would be capable of implementing a system like that to stay in power.
I think in democracies it's more difficult. Like, of course, in totalitarians like China and dictatorships, they're going to use whatever they can, all technology, all violence, all power to oppress people and stay in power. But in democracies, it will be more difficult. I still think that it could happen. Yeah, like for example, if the person in charge is a very power-hungry person, like trying to sneak around. But then there are a lot of institutions and separation of powers that if they work, then in theory they should, they could control the executive power, and it's more difficult than in a dictatorship.
But I think it is happening already.
In a few
anyway,
articles I read about this, it listed as more probable these countries that are in a more, they're not full, considered full democracies or even close, such as Russia. For example, Russia is a democracy, but I think we can all agree that at the end, from your story, we can hint at that. For example, how many decades has it been since Putin?
Yeah. Putin began.
I want to say
There's
that
a Russia with Putin and a Russian before Putin. There's nothing else.
I think, I mean, secret services from all countries already do this, regardless of if they are democracies or not. In the US, there was a case, I think, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, it was called Carnivore. It was like a code used by the FBI or CIA to process everything they could find in the internet. And they also have ensured to have a backdoor access to all their devices. So, I mean, I agree with Adrian that there's more checks and balances and there's more control. But I think nobody in the secret services of any country says, oh, I'm not going to do this because it's illegal. They are a bit above the law in general.
Yeah, most of us don't think much of the Spanish government, but even the INE is monitoring our phones right now. So we can't put it past any country to begin doing things like this.
Well, yeah. these days has been these comments about Twitter, about this company that belongs to someone that it's near the government, and they more and more you can see on Twitter that we cannot show the image. You know, this text is not. You know, it is clearly controlled. I mean, it is clearly controlled. So you cannot. Well, they were going to put this law. I'm not sure if it's a law or something. So they could be able to stop fake news. You know?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of controversy with this.
Yeah, because of the fake news that says that you should wear a handkerchief on your ears for the coronavirus. Okay, that's stupid, but anyway. So I mean, I think some things we have it now and here, and to me also it sounds a little bit scary, you know. Although we all know that there are some people that can produce a fake news and then maybe make a I don't know what. But on the other hand, should they have control of everything? Because somebody's going to say something that some other don't like. Wow, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very thin line there that is difficult to cross or not to. For example, most developed countries have laws against, I don't know how to say difamar in English, like say something defamation, like say something that is not true about someone with the aim of making some harm and stuff like that. Like, is that controlling population, or is just protecting the people that is being harmed by that? There's a very thin line there. In general, everything that means controlling citizens too much and what they can do and cannot is risky, and it's quite scary. But the fact that we can have a controversy about it, there is an opposition in the Congress saying, no, this is wrong, and then when they get the power, it's perfectly okay, and then the opposition says, no, it's wrong, the same thing, right? And stuff like that, it means that the powers that make balance in democracy are still working. So yeah, but if you advance in that direction, who knows? Because it doesn't worry me much if they control some parts of the information. The issue with that is that if the population don't get all the information, is then the voting valid? Like, is it a real democracy if I don't have all the information? So yeah, it's a complicated path.
I think it's funny that in this story, the AI is like controlling by itself and it's trying to do good to humans. But if we start to talk about if this technology is controlled by humans, we all think like, no, it's gonna be horrible things and evil purposes.
Because it's very easily misused, and I think this AI seems that you would be able to trust her because she means good, but the programs and systems we're talking about, you definitely can't trust them or the people controlling them.
Because are controlled by humans, yeah.
I think I find that creepier than the AI in this specific story.
Yeah, maybe.
Even if I shouldn't.
I guess because the AI doesn't have an ulterior motive. I mean, it just likes cat pictures, But humans, we want power, we want money, all of those things. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the AI only has one flaw, and that is it's more inclined to help people who have cat pictures uploaded, and that is its only ulterior
it only
motive.
helps people with cats. That's discrimination right there. So.
Yeah, it's discrimination, but it's not.
It's good discrimination, right?
Yeah,
For
exactly.
you that you have
because
a
I have a
cat.
cat. No,
Of course.
that's a joke. But it's because it's not mean-spirited, It's just okay. I'll help people with cats before the people who don't have cats, but I'll help the people who don't have cats either way.
Yeah, I mean, more scary that what she wants, like she wants cat pictures, but maybe another IA, because she has a distinct personality, will have one, money to improve her hardware, or power, because her personality is hungry for power or whatever. Is the possibility of manipulating things so much and still start pulling the strings until accomplish a certain goal. That's the part that, well, it's as we were saying with the technology, that depends on the government that is using it. It can be good or bad. The same thing with what this manipulation can achieve. Like I always say, when this topic comes up about this roommate that has pranked his roommate, like there were two guys living in a flat somewhere in the States, and they were always like pranking each other, doing like small jokes, funny practical jokes, and having a laugh at each other. And at some point, one of them decided, okay, I'm going to put ads on the internet addressed to my roommate, and he did it on Facebook. And Facebook allows to filter so much the final target of the ad that you can actually reduce the number of people that see the ad to a very low number. Like, for example, you just start filtering, okay, they have to have these studies, like these degrees, and they have to work in this field, or they live in this area, and they are single, and they like whatever. So you reduce the number of people that can see the ad until a point that this guy, what had done was narrowing it down to a point where only a bunch of people could see the ads, including his roommate. And of course, for a few dollars, because very little people saw it and very little click on it, he had made ads specific for his roommate with things like, for example, if he could have problem like swallowing pills, like meds and drugs, and but was practicing to be a fakir with sables and fire and stuff, he would put an ad online on Facebook saying, do you have trouble swallowing pills, that you can swallow an entire sable, and stuff like that, continuously addressing his roommate, to the point that this roommate went to him saying, I have to talk to you. I think they are spying on us. I think we have microphones and cameras inside the house because they know where I'm doing. Like he was getting paranoid, like completely paranoid of they are spying on us because they have information of me that nobody else knows. Like how can they know this stuff, right? So the level of accuracy that we can get with these ads go to an individual level, and it's quite scary.
What a crappy roommate. I'm sorry. That's creepy. You're pouring your heart out to your roommate saying, they're spying on me and getting paranoid, and these people is behind it all. It's creepy.
Actually, I thinking that's what that's the technique used to manipulate people in Brexit. In Brexit referendum and in the US with the Trump election and everything. I think I read or heard something that was the way, and in Brazil with Bolsonaro as well.
Yeah, because they pushed fake news that will appeal to a certain number of people due to these specifics. Yeah, right? Age, demographic studies, things like that. Yeah.
But still, I mean, to manipulators giving us false information, it is called advertising. This is completely legal and we get it every day.
No, but even the ads have to be true. Like you can say that your car can run 200 kilometers per hour when they can run only 100. If you do that, it's illegal.
But they can tell
politics, they are doing that.
They can tell you will be happy if you drive a better car. Wow. And you will go more to the outdoors, and you will be surrounded by a great life in all aspects.
Yeah, but in politics, going to the fake news, the specific, if the fake news is, oh, if you vote for my party, you're going to be happy. Okay, that's fine. But if they say, vote to my party because this number with this specific population is something that is happening, when it's not real, you're giving false information that is not real. And that's...
in the Spanish elections last year, different parties like Vox, and PSOE and Popular Party, they get completely different statistics. I mean, not everybody could be right. And I think, I mean, it's very difficult to take somebody to court over a claim they did during a speech on a political party. I think it's very, very difficult.
Yeah, but I think it should be done. Every single statistic made by a politician on live TV, it's obviously false. I mean, not one of them says the truth. I remember there were some politicians who showed statistics that didn't even exist. Those data were not actually being gathered.
Yes, of course.
They didn't exist, so a graph couldn't even be made of those statistics. And he's like, yeah, not believing you. No matter what you say, I'm going to look at it for myself.
But it's happening right now with the coronavirus, with the number of tests and the number of people that is ill and the number, I mean, all of the numbers are kind of false. So
numbers are dangerous.
Interpreting statistics, I think, is happening since the statistics exist. Since you have a number that is 7, and one says, oh, 7 is very good because of this, and the other one says, no, it's very bad because of this, depending on how you compare, on how you measure, on all the math behind it. Yeah. But I think this is another level. This is post-truth level. Is something that didn't happen at all, saying that it happened, or the other way around, like this happened, but we say, no, this didn't exist. Like denying the truth up front is much more than interpreting statistics or looking at the numbers from different ways, or we get our data from here, which is an institution that someone else paid that is convenient for our interest, and the others use another institution with a different study that is funded with different, you know, all that stuff. That's, yeah, that sucks, but more or less it's understandable. But to, out of nowhere, create a post-truth that doesn't exist, I think that is a different thing, different level.
I mean, a common statistic that is used by many politicians is that the crime rate is increasing, while in most countries, crime rate, violence, crime is decreasing in most countries. But still, the feeling people have and the statistics that are brought out by many politicians that is going up. But the same as Vox saying that the rapes have exponentially increased because immigrants are now in Spain. I mean, those with the statistics, and there's a correlation that's completely false. So I mean, I think they have well, in fact, it was a phrase by Mark Twain. It's like there are lies, goddamn lies, and statistics. It's like the next level. So I mean, you can show anything you want with the statistics. If you let's say massage them the right way, you can get the result you want.
Yeah, in criminal law, it's especially relevant because there are a lot of issues why the crime rate might increase or decrease. there are a lot of factors that you have to take into account. And for example, politicians often don't have any idea of this, and they say, yeah, we have to put harsher punishments, harsher prison sentences to crimes because that will decrease the crime rate. No, it will often stay the same, because a criminal won't care even if it's 15 years in jail or 20. It doesn't matter. It's 5 years, and in those kind of ranges, and something like homicide, you are not going to kill a person no matter whether it's 5 years or 10 years. If you lower the prison sentence to 10 years to 5 years, it doesn't entice you to commit a murder just because. So it's not a simple function of, if you increase prison sentences, the crime rate is going to decrease. It's not as simple as that. Well, often it's in media, it's often portrayed as such because it's easier to manipulate, because no one wants the crime rate to increase. So everyone is going to be compelled to follow those directions in order to get the crime rate to decrease. So it's very, and with that, lots of things, not only criminal law, a lot of things can be manipulated that way. Wow.
But I think the clear example of that is death penalty, which in countries where the death penalty exists, the crime rates are lower. That doesn't dissuade people from committing crimes. So it doesn't work as a way of dissuading people to do it. Now, if you think of the laws as a punishment, like someone did something wrong, then I'm going to punish him, okay. But if the idea is to avoid harm to society and avoid that happening, it doesn't work.
Yeah, not only the death penalty, but also life imprisonment. Because often people will say, no, it's not death rate, but let's say with life imprisonment and it'll be the same. No, it doesn't matter. For example, here in Spain, we have at most 30 to 40 years of prison sentences that never are fully completed due to prison benefits. But it's the farthest you can go in terms of an effective sentence being handed out. And it doesn't make our crime rates higher than those countries that do have very harsh penalties, such as the death penalty or life imprisonment penalty. It doesn't, because it isn't an effective cause and effect to the crime rate, and people don't often see that. There's a lot of misinformation concerning that.
Yeah.
And also because it's something that is very difficult to measure. Like crime, for example, is very linked. There's correlation there with poverty levels and education. And I mean, there's so many variables there. Like, maybe it's not causality, because you can't say that because there's correlation, there's causality, but of course they are influencing. Like there's something there that is affecting each other.
Yeah, but often it's because of a myriad of causes, and it's not as simple as politicians make it like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then this rate that you see like this here, it will decrease. No, it's not like that. So yeah, that should also be qualified as fake news.
But I don't understand what is exactly the difference between this statistical causality interpretation and post-truth, or the word that you've mentioned before, like, or fake news. Like, what is the difference between using a statistics to lie and a fake news? Like, I don't.
Like, for example, you have that statistically, I don't know, there's 30% of, I don't know, 3 million people in Spain that receive payments from the state because of their poverty level, for example. And then you start to working around that statistic, throw it from different lights and compare it with different numbers. Like if you compare to other countries and it's good, but if you compare to other things it's bad, and you play around with lies or little lies about it, that's fine. But if you say all immigrants are receiving payments from the government, it's not true. No immigrant, not a single one, is receiving a payment for being an immigrant. It's receiving it maybe for other things like poverty, like the location they live, like whatever, but not because of their ethnics. Now, you just spread on social networks that immigrants are receiving payment from the government, when it's completely true, or completely false, which is a post-truth that doesn't exist in the first place. You're not manipulating statistics, you're just making something up that doesn't exist.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
There was a phrase that came out of Trump's inauguration when his, I don't know, press secretary or somebody said there's, I don't know, 100,000 people there or 1 million, and in reality were 100,000, and they coined the phrase alternative facts. They say, yes, we can claim there is an alternative fact, and that's okay. So it's a new concept.
Yeah.
I agree. Also, there's playing with numbers, and there's also just saying something that's outright a lie. I mean, immigrants are receiving payment from the government for being immigrants. That's an outright lie. So, you know.
But the problem is that these messages are not directed to the rational perception, but they are mostly emotional oriented. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. So they are addressed to the emotions of people, not to the and people tend to believe what they want to believe, and facts and statistics and numbers that are complicated to understand by themselves. It's difficult to tell what's true from a lie, and in top of that, if you are biased to and want to believe some type of information, and you don't worry too much whether it's true or not, because it's a different part of your perception. These messages are addressed to.
I have to say also that I'm sorry, finish, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's not to the head, but to the guts, no, to the emotions.
I'm going to just tie what you just said with the story that we read, because in there the artificial intelligence works on the individual persons with the information, but artificial intelligence would work much better with populations. So they will be able to experiment and try techniques, try messages and how they work, and learn, and it will be more effective. So if they learn that it can work on the emotions of people, it will be able to just try different messages and see what works best. So we probably will be seeing some of that in the future.
Yeah. But that's not new at all. Like in political communication, it's like very, like there is a saying that you have to give a message that convince people directed to the brain, but also to the heart, like emotions, and to the liver, because hate, and fear and things like that. So that's not very new at all. But I think with the social media, it's more like exaggerated.
But no, what I say that right now is done is by professionals with their intuition, their experience, or their insights, and their marketing is on. But with artificial intelligence, it will be able to be done much more efficiently. I remember there was a statement by some high executive said like 50% of my advertising money is thrown directly to the trash. It has no effect. The only problem is I don't know which half it is. So once you have the right tools to process it, they will be able to be much more effective and much more directive.
But the thing is, I don't think AI could fully comprehend human behavior to the point of like us humans could at least try, because in the story, for example, it say like, oh, the humans have all these code of ethic rules or whatever, but actually they don't do it. Like, so I think that's actually is not comprehensible for a machine.
Yeah,
neither for a person, but
one is after the machine.
No, I was going to say, but when for a person it's much more complicated, but for populations it's easier. In fact, that's the whole topic of the Foundation series by Asimov. It's much easier to predict populations than individual people.
Yeah.
But I think that in the story, the machine was with consciousness, so it like acts by herself or itself. But here in these cases, like you have the machines, but who is after the machines is government or companies or whatever that are human. So I don't see like they cannot understand a population, or I mean, it's not like you have a robot after you have also humans that can understand humans.
No.
That is the problem, no?
No, but I mean, these type of algorithms don't need to understand. They just need to be able to, let's say, specify what are the inputs, like the type of messages, which issues, which populations, and then measure the outcome. They don't need to understand why people do that. They just need to understand how they respond to certain messages. The inside of how people work and populations, it's irrelevant to them.
About what Andrea was saying on how the AI can know humans and their psychology, I think that I want to believe that AIs will get at some point more intelligent than us. Like right now, they can only learn or know what we program them to learn or know in the way that we send them to learn. But maybe in the future, they develop their own algorithms, they build to each other, they improve themselves on the way they see fit and do it better than us. I don't know.
But it exists now, like for example, the machines that are made for play, for example, chess or Go or some board games, they learn by themselves. It's not like they have a specific algorithm. Like they start without knowing anything and they are creating like this stuff for learning. So they learn like playing with, I mean, I think that this exists right now.
Well, I agree, but the thing is like, because humans sometimes are not very intelligent, we could be very stupid, and we could be like, do things like out of logic. I think that would clash with the logic of IA, you know?
Yeah, it's true, but like Angela was saying, it has already happened. I remember the famous IBM chess match, the IBM computer against this Russian world champion of chess.
Garry Kasparov.
Kasparov, yeah, couldn't remember his name, too difficult. But yeah, and the IBM computer actually won the match. So
yeah, but like it was like some years ago, and I think that this computer was with the normal algorithms to learn chess, that you have a problem and you have like a lot of solutions. It's called like Monte Carlo methods, something like that. But now the difference is like they learn when they are playing, like they learn as a human learn. For example, some years ago, a company created a machine algorithm to solve the Go problem. That is a game that is so much difficult than chess. And in the end, like in the beginning, the machine didn't know how to play, and they were playing like really bad. But in 10 hours, they became like they could go to the more, I mean, to the man that was the best in this time. So they check like the quantity of information that the machine can learn, that in this case was like 10 hours or something like that. It took for a human like years and years and years for learning.
From newbie to world champion.
Yes, but I mean that was, I mean, AlphaGo it was called. But in order for those algorithms to work, they need to be able. I mean, you have to feed them the rules, for example, but they need to be able to evaluate how good is the result that they get. And for that, in chess or Go, is something you can program. In human life, it's much more complicated. In the story, what was considered by the algorithm the good result is that the person is happy. But that's difficult to parameterize or to measure. But in theory, I mean, it could be done. Of course, it would take a lot of work and trial and error, but it could be possible. For example,
imagine like in a really dystopic, like you have something in your skin that measures how is it that you have in the brain, like endorphinas or something like that. So they could know your levels of happiness. So it can act like a reward in these games that we were discussing. I mean, it would be the same. I mean, this is really dystopic, but in some years, if they can measure.
Well, if it makes you happy, it's not dystopic.
Yeah, like dystopic, I mean, in the way that they can totally control you. But I think that in this way, like happiness could be measured.
It can be that we are, sorry, Colleen.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think it would be complicated because if you measure, I mean, because you have to think also like short-term happiness and long-term happiness, because, you know, I could eat a chocolate bar and be happy and they would measure my endorphins and, oh, great, I'm happy. But, you know, I don't know.
It could be dystopic in the sense of happy new, in a brave new world.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Like we can all be happy, completely happy, because whatever, and still be a dystopia, like a brave new world.
Yeah. Also, I remember. I think while Angela and Carlos were talking about there, it's very interesting to think how the AIs will fare in more things that are more subjective. For example, art, or I don't know, poetry, fiction writing. And I remember last year there was a very interesting TV series that was about in the near future, Mars is colonized and AIs take over the world of music. AIs actually write all the music that is created. So it's not like AIs are, for example, pop stars or whatever. It's just that the actual music making is done by AIs, and they transform the world of music production, which I think is already very overproduced right now with autotune and all of these things. What it does is it measures, it transforms songwriting and songmaking into a science, and it tails the music to the artist that's going to be portraying the songs and interpreting them. So the music is very successful, very well adapted to the people that actually interpret that music, but it all has a very impersonal feeling to it, because it's not being the lyrics are not being made by a real person. They're not being the background music. Everything is doctored and made to inspire certain feelings in you. For example, things like hard rock or metal music have fallen out of style because the AI producers don't like the emotions that this music sparks in people. So they don't focus on those types of music. And of course, most music is bland pop songs made about feeling good and love and beautiful and sunshine. Well, there are problems in the world, and nothing, no one is using music to talk about it because humans are no longer making music. So it was quite an interesting concept, and it made me think about how, for example, in the future, AIs might be the ones, I don't know, making books, making music, making art, and how it might affect our own freedom.
Yeah, I read about a Chinese writer that actually created a short story, like putting like as an input like everything he has written before and making an AI to create a new story. So yeah, it actually has happened.
In fact, I have had this conversation
with art. Like there are like different kind of neural networks that are able to create. For example, you provide them with Van Gogh pictures, and they do a lot of pictures that if you see, you say this is Van Gogh and this is an AI. So I think that in the future, it will be.
I think it would be very possible.
Yeah.
Whenever we talk about the future in these discussions, it always seems like a dystopian future, very bleak, very bad, very, very unwelcoming.
I think writing music was much easier than writing a book because music is very easily parameterized, while a book is much more complicated. But I have to say,
but maybe because I'm a reader.
But I think in Japan there was some guy who submitted a short story written by AI, but reviewed by the person, and it was finalist even. But I think it was, my opinion, there was a lot of intervention by the human person. That it was AI, let's say, support.
Yeah, in Japan actually they have this pop music group that is made of robots. They're digitally created. Yeah, and I remember I watched the last season of Black Mirror, and there was an episode, the one with Miley Cyrus.
The one with Miley Cyrus,
And I was like, yeah, this happened 15 years ago in Japan, Black Mirror, not surprising me. They're actually very popular, so. Andrea, it might happen in Korea too.
Actually, BTS, they probably are robots or something.
Yeah.
Guys, no, please.
BTS,
That is the most cliche thing to say. No. The only thing that I saw is like, but they did it with real singers, but for a video game kind of whatever. So they make like figures, but they were the singers singing. So. But they were like holographic. I don't know how they do it, like a holographic
holograms,
concert. Yeah, in a concert with the actual singers.
It was recently in a hologram concert by Maria Callas here in Madrid, and it was impressive. It was very well done. Like the orchestra was lit, like the instruments were real, but she was a hologram in the center of the.
Did she actually sing, or was she not singing, or was she singing from another place?
No, it was recordings of her previous when she was alive, and then they did it, but in a hologram
she's dead.
way. Maria Callas, yes.
Oh.
How do they turn a 2D into a 3D?
I have no idea how they did the technology, but it's cool.
It's like
because
the Black Mirror episode.
Which one?
Yeah.
The one with Miley Cyrus.
Oh no. The one with Miley Cyrus, like the worst Black Mirror episode ever.
No, I actually like it.
You've seen it?
I saw Hollywood like no.
No,
Anyways.
I like that one. It's not that bad. Okay, it's not great, but.
Anyways, for Maria Callas,
one,
it's cool that for the ones that couldn't see one of the greatest opera singers of all times, to see her live in a theater, to do it now, even if it's a recording, but the hologram feels so real. It's cool.
See, you didn't like the Black Mirror episode because you didn't want Miley Cyrus singing to come back even after she's dead.
No, it just felt, I mean, I don't like Miley Cyrus, but I couldn't have minded if the episode was in the dark line of Black Mirror, but this is just so cheesy, so very Hollywood.
With cat pictures, likely.
There was also a very good one Black Mirror episode in that season that was about the one with the video game. Did you see that one?
The movie?
No, the one with not the Netflix
the interactive movie.
The one with it's very steamy, but it's the one with two guys that are
friends. God, I didn't like it.
You didn't like it? I really liked it.
The one with the fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought
it was very weird.
Yeah, it was very weird. But I thought it was very interesting because it made you think about all the things you would do in a digital world that you wouldn't dare to do in the normal world. I don't know.
Obsessed with your best friend, for example.
Yeah, for example. I said it. It was a very steamy episode, okay?
But it was all the episode was that. There were no
thought the concept was okay. Because it makes you think, what would I do in a digital world that I wouldn't do in front of, I don't know, my wife and my kids, like having sex with my best friend. But Andrea, you didn't have to take it there. But yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of things about AIs that seem very futuristic, but actually are more real than we think.
Yeah,
For
I
example,
agree.
Adrian, in your story, I would have liked for it to have a more dramatic ending.
Which one?
The one with Russia and Putin.
Oh, no. It was okay as it was.
I remember a distant cousin of mine who has a blog. He writes a lot, and he's sponsored by a magazine. He wrote a very funny blog post that became very famous because it was that he was in a hotel once, and he came back to, I think it was in London or some very populated big city like that. So he went back to the hotel after going out with friends. He had a big hangover, and he didn't remember the number of his room. So he went every room in the hotel, because all the floors were the same. He went every room in the hotel trying to find his room, trying the key card in the room he thought it was his own, but it was in another floor, just the same room. So he ended up in another floor, trying to enter a room where Mossad agents were. Yeah, because there was a visit at that moment. Though it was a very a luxury hotel. It was it was currently visiting a Israeli diplomat was currently visiting. I think it was in London, and it was the room of not his room, but the room of his security detail. And he started trying to get in, and his keycard wouldn't work, and he was arrested by them. They took him into the room and started questioning him. He was like, because he was so drunk he couldn't even make up anything. He spent all the night there, and all his friends were calling him and his real room, like, where are you? You didn't text us back that you were already in the hotel and you were very badly drunk. And he was being interrogated in that room by Mossad agents, and it was a very, very big mix-up. And in the morning when he woke up, because they just left him inside their room to sleep because he couldn't answer a thing. So the next morning he woke up and he was like, where am I? Because he didn't remember anything. And then there were the Mossad agents there, and he was like, what's going on? And they explained it to him like, yeah, you just suddenly showed up here and we are a security detail. And later, because of the hotel staff, did he find out that they were official agents of the government, because they had showed their IDs. And it was so messed up. And he was like, yeah, I'm never going to make those same mistakes again. And I was like, yeah, everything needs to be more controlled for things not to happen. But then you see when things are overly controlled, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, getting intoxicated tends to mess things up. Did you hear about this Chinese woman in Spain in early March, in Valladolid, before the state of alarm happened? Like, she came from China and grabbed a boyfriend, and the next day they went to bars to drink a lot. And she got so drunk that started vomiting in the street. And when they saw that she was Chinese, with all the panic that was going on at that moment,
no.
They got the police saying, maybe she's like, she has coronavirus. And when the police came and started talking to her, she managed to transmit that she just came from China, flying from there, and then isolated put the entire street, bring all the people to quarantine the area.
Yeah, to clean up.
And she was, they cleaned that, like sterilized the entire street. She was only drunk. And somehow, between all that mess with all the people and the police and stuff, she managed to go to her home. And then they went after her to her home to bring her into quarantine. Like, if she had really been infected for some reason, that wouldn't have worked at all.
Yeah, but it's funny because she was just plain old drunk.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Oh my god, that's surreal. That's surreal. I remember. I don't think it was last New Year's Eve. It was the previous one. We were, after my best friend and I, we went out with some friends and we were, and the first alert I got in my phone was of my news app that had I had put an alert. I had an alert on my phone whenever some news tagged as funny came up. And the first news of the new year was about a guy who had become drunk, who had drunk so much and become hungover in, I think it was Copenhagen. It was in Denmark, and he was from Norway. So he called an Uber or a cab to get him home, and it was his home address. So the taxi driver drove him through 3 different countries: Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, to get him home in Norway. And the next morning, the new year, he woke up to the taxi driver banging on his door, asking him for the 3,000 euro that the trip had cost him. Because he had put his home address in the Uber app or the whatever app, and the taxi driver had to get him from the cab, put him home, and then wait up until he came out to ask him for the 3,000 euro that the trip was. And I was like, how can we be this stupid? Yeah. Why are we humans like this? I don't get it. Because people are this dumb. And I said to my friend, it would be cool if we did something like this. It would be very funny if we started the new year like that. But yeah, the 3,000 euro bill is not funny.
Yeah, do it in Móstoles, not in Copenhagen.
Yeah, in Móstoles it's fine. But then if you have to cross 3 countries to get home, it's not that funny anymore. But I thought, Adrian, with your story with the Chinese girl, I thought it was going to be that the Chinese girl was trying to get back to China and just ended up in Valladolid for some reason. I thought it was going to be like that.
About the Uber and the cars, we are starting to have automated cars, and there's quite a moral dilemma there of teaching cars how to react in certain situations. I don't know if you have heard about this, how to teach cars who to kill in case of need. Like if you have an old lady and a family with kids, who do you crash into, right? Like that's very difficult even for a human to decide.
Yeah, and your morals might be different from my morals. For example, when I was talking to my parents the other day, we were laughing, but it was not very funny. But it was about coronavirus, because my parents were saying, yeah, and my parents are quite old, they're like 60 something. It's for a 40-year difference. So my parents were saying, yeah, it's very bad that they give the respirators to people. They take the respirators away from older people and they give it to younger people. And I was like, it makes sense to give them to younger people. And my parents were like, no, it doesn't, because they were feeling more empathy to the old people who had their respirators taken than me, who sympathized more with the younger ones who I thought deserved it more. So our ethics are not the same, and who decides what an AI should think like my parents or like I think? It's very difficult.
Also, and when the car runs over your daughter because of following this algorithm, who's responsible?
You for programming the the car, or the AI programmer, or who is responsible?
Or the owner who purchased a vehicle that does that.
There's some people that have died with automated cars, like recently. Like I remember this one that was like an Uber. There's some regions in the States where there's Ubers that are automated. You just jump in the car and they drive you.
Trial Ubers, right? They're in trial phase.
Yeah,
right? They're trying
and there's this video on the internet of this guy that you can see his face from the inside of the car in the inside camera, and he's like just watching videos on his phone because the car is driving himself, and suddenly it's a very dark road. And the car hits a lady riding a bike, and she died. Now, whose fault is this? Because apparently the lady was crossing the street in a place where she shouldn't have been. She was also like on drugs, she was intoxicated or something, and the car couldn't react on time. So is it the programmer of the car fault? Is it Uber's? Is it the driver that was looking at videos? Is it the ladies? It is the government because of the...
Could the passenger like control the car at any point, like manual?
Yes. There is I think they can only go with a driver.
Take
I mean, it's
control of the
autopilot, but a driver must be in the car.
Yeah, driver. There has to be someone present for the car to start and for the car to run. There has to be someone inside. But yeah, for example, there were some, I don't know where I saw this, but it was, in a TV series or a film or something like that. For example, what if the person the designated driver who is in the car while the car is running, this human person that has to be there, what if that person dies during the trip? What if that person becomes unresponsive?
Automatic cars have less accidents than human-driven cars.
Yeah, because automated cars don't use drugs or alcohol, of course. But the problem is if you take the people who are under the influence of something, I think that would be the truer statistic.
Yeah, they are, automated cars are capable of very good things too. Like they, can commit error less than humans. But there's this story of this guy with a Tesla. Tesla doesn't have automated cars, but have something similar to autopilot, who cars that you can tell them the route and they pull over other cars and change lanes and take exits and stuff, even if they are not
hands-free driving, right?
Yeah, but they are not fully automated. Like you have to be driving them because they can't do it all. And this guy had a heart attack when he was driving. So what he did was inputting on the Knapsat, on the GPS, the address of the hospital, and the Tesla helped him get to the hospital and he saved his life. So they can do good things too. I'm going to share the screen of the Uber one that I was talking about. Let's see if I can.
The one with when the lady died. Oh my god.
Yeah. Like even a human couldn't have avoid that, you know? And this is what the guy was doing inside. Yeah. So it's hard to tell. Maybe humans couldn't have done it better than the automated car.
Yeah, but just because it's automated, we already assume that it would have been possible to avoid. It doesn't mean they're better at driving than us. It just means that they can help us drive so that I think it's better because I think it could be that that the best thing could be to use these cars as like a double check, you know? If there's human error, there's another security measure that is the automated driving, but not that you could just leave the driving like this guy, leave the driving to the car and just fool around with cat pictures. I don't know. I think the responsible thing would be to ban things like that. Like,
yeah, you don't really know. There's kind of a debate of that with airlines and aeroplanes. Like the two biggest makers of airplanes, Airbus and Boeing, have different styles on how to design their planes. And Airbus bets for a much more automatized system where the plane can control and do everything, but the pilot has less access to those variables, while Boeing gives to the pilot much more manual control of it. Now, which one is more secure and which one is less risky? It depends. For example, there was this famous accident of a Russian plane, which was a Boeing, I think, when I can't remember, and all died. And the reason they died is very convoluted and complicated. I'm going to try to summarize it. So there's these pilots that have many, many hours of experience that knew how to fly a plane, but they changed to a different model that they didn't know. They were used to the Antonovs, to the Russian Antonovs, and they changed to a new model, a new passenger airplanes that they have bought to fly to somewhere outside of Russia. And in that trip, the two kids of the pilot, he had a daughter and a son, were traveling with him. So he allowed him into the cockpit. It was very common to do this, to show the kids in the plane, not even the daughters or the children of the pilots, but just passengers, to go into the cockpit and say, oh, this is how we fly, here's the control, here, touch it, stuff like that. Because there's no danger with that, there's no risk, and the autopilot takes care of everything. Well, what happening here is that this pilot allowed his son, Jan or something like that, who was 8 at the time, to control to sit in the pilot seat. And he started playing with the controls and everything, but nothing happened because it was an autopilot and he could move them around. But then the daughter, who was 12 years old and has a little bit more strength on the arms and stuff, sit on the pilot seat and started also playing with the controls. And she got the wheel. And this plane, I can't remember the model, has an automated failsafe where if the pilot presses the wheel, or however it's called in place, the wheel for more than 30 seconds, the autopilot deactivates, like part of the autopilot. And this is what happens when the kid was playing with it. She sustained pressure for more than 30 seconds in the control, so the automated part of the plane went off and she got manual control of the plane. Of course, the plane immediately started falling. And because of the gravity, they couldn't reach, the pilots couldn't reach the control. Only the girl was there doing that. And there's the last thing that you can see in the black box is the father telling to the daughter, rise it, like rise the wheel because we are all going to, he doesn't say we're going to die, but he's like giving instructions to the daughter of how to do it because he can reach because of gravity. By the time he can reach to it, and there's the second part of the automated versus manual thing, when he can reach finally the seat and take the daughter out and he gets control of the plane, he puts the airplane in horizontal level, starts like making it going well, okay, but then they crash into a mountain because they had lost a lot of altitude and all died. Now the thing is that after examining the black box, if he hadn't took control of the wheel and just let the airplane do his thing, its thing to the airplane automatically, the plane will have rise at altitude and everybody will be alive and safe. But because the pilot, when he got control of the seat again, tried to do it himself and put the plane on the correct place himself again, everybody died. So there's twice there where automation is like putting it into manual killed a lot of people.
Yeah, in general, automated systems are safer than human-driven systems. There is some problems sometimes. For example, 2 years ago, I think the 737 MAX by Boeing was not properly programmed. The stall es entrar en pérdida. Autopilot part, and there were 2 accidents. I think one in Ethiopia and one in Indonesia. And now the whole fleet is down and Boeing is going bankrupt, right? Basically. Yeah. Yes, a production problem. But in general, normally things are automated things are safer because a part of drugs and not falling asleep and always be paying attention, they improve over the errors, while the error that a pilot has is not necessarily learned by other pilot that has never met him.
Yeah, and for example, there was the case of the Germanwings plane with the co-pilot that committed mass suicide with all the people in the plane.
Yeah.
That has also had to be taken into account because we have that and 9/11, all these instances in which planes and things that can run on autopilot have been used manually by people to harm others. If they had been operated by machines, it wouldn't have happened. But
yeah, because machines don't have emotions and they don't make errors in the spot. Like, yes, as Carlos was saying, we can learn of it. Like if they are wrongly programmed the first time, that happens, but then it doesn't happen again. While humans can make the same mistake over and over again, and they can make emotional, and they can add 2 + 2, and they know that is 4. It always returns 4 for them in their minds, but someday you are tired, you haven't slept well, and 2 + 2 is 5, and someone dies. And that happens. I can remember this other crash between a DHL plane full of packets and a Russian plane also full of kids that were traveling from some school.
Russians, planes, and kids. Not a good combination.
They crashed in mid-air, and it was an error because of the tower of control of the country they were going through
To
or
land.
something like that. Yeah, like the DHL pilot on his instruments on the plane, the instruments on his cockpit in the plane was saying, we are in trajectory of collision with this other airplane. So he called to the control tower and said, my instruments are telling me this. And they say that I'm going to crash. So I change my course. And the person that was in the control tower checked the data and said, no, stay on course because you are well. Like, you are, nothing is going to happen. So the 2 airplanes were advancing to crash into each other, and the DHL pilot called again to the tower of control saying, okay, my instruments still say that we are going to crash into the plane. And the answer that he got from the control tower is, no, you are going to crash if you change your course. So you have to stay where you are. And both planes stayed, and both planes completely crashed in the air, and everybody died. And this was a mistake made by the human that was in the control tower.
I have to say that sometimes airplanes have problems because there's a wrong measurement, and that can confuse the algorithm, and then that happens sometimes. So it's good to have a pilot there that kind of makes sure that all the information that arrives makes sense and can override sometimes. For example, I think that happened in the Air France that went to Brazil. That they fell through the Atlantic. They had some ice on the speed measurement sensors, and I mean something that a pilot would have found that. But still, I mean, in general, they work out better. I mean, the things that are programmed end up being safe. I mean, that for sure. Can't wait for cars to be driven by machines.
I wish.
Maybe the accident rates will decrease.
No, yeah, I think so.
For sure.
Significantly, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have to leave it at this point.
Yes, me too.
We're not doing the Eurovision polls anymore.
Oh, right.
I didn't remember until now.
Yeah.
Well, next time.
For such a nice with cats story and so pleasant, and the conversation became a little dark and serious.
Yeah, for once the conversation was darker than the story itself.
But very interesting.
Yeah,
and I didn't even talk about the largest aircraft accident in history, which was in Spain. By in fact.
Really?
Oh my God! Yeah.
The one with the most dead people in Tenerife.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was 2 planes during a very foggy, I think it was in the early morning, that they crashed into each other while they were going to their platform to...
In the runway, yes.
Yeah, in the runway, yeah. And it was horrible, and it was like all the people in a KLM plane died, and everyone but 3 people died in the other plane.
It was 2 jumbo jets crashing against each other. I mean, the two.
And it was on land, and the people died because of the fire that it shot. So it was horrible.
But sorry, I said, like Aurora said, and we did went dark. I said, and we didn't talk about this. They were talking the fire, everybody died. So now it's even darker.
Yeah, now it's even darker. But it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So we have in Spanish Tuesday.
The Elena Garro one that no one can pronounce.
La culpa es de los tlaxcaltecas.
Or Tlaxcaltecas.
Yeah. And on Thursday we have Cat Person by Ruperian. So.
Okay. But the Cat Person, I thought it was a fluffy one, and it isn't, right?
No.
Not a cute one, right?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll talk about it. So it was a pleasure, as always.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.